Good Monday morning, everybody. Hope you all had an awesome weekend. All right, let's get started. We're going to continue in this chapter, and this particular section I'm going to break into a couple of parts. Okay, so this is chapter 9, section 4, and this is volume, and this is going to be part 1. Okay, and this might be a little bit of review for you guys. Some of you have done some of this stuff before. Um, Volume, and we're going to be finding the volume of cubes, rectangular, and triangular prisms. Okay, and this is April 13th, 20. Okay, well, let's start with um, the objective for today. Okay, and our objective is to use volume formulas to determine volume of cubes, rectangular prisms, and triangular prisms. Okay. The first thing that we need to talk about is what is volume. Okay. It's not the same thing as area. Okay. Think about this, guys. If you've been to like a sports contest, or sometimes at amusement parks, you see those big glass things that have popcorn in them. Okay. And the if you consider how much popcorn could fit in that thing, okay, that's kind of like volume, okay? Or if you had a clear um, rectangular prism, okay, how much water could fit in there? So basically, volume is the amount of space an object occupies, okay? Now, very, 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 very important, okay? Important, okay? Last week we were doing area, okay? Area, all units were expressed in square units. Okay, with volume, volume is expressed in cubic units. And what that means is there's a 3 as an exponent. Okay, for example, um, 92 centimeters cubed, 15 inches cubed. Okay, that's what I'm looking for with volume. Okay, so just to reiterate that. Okay, area and volume. And these are for your answers once you have determined the area or volume. Let's say that I found the area of an object and it was 48 inches. This would be 48 inches squared. But if I found the volume of it, it would be 48 inches cubed. Okay. The big difference when you are labeling volume and area is the 2, or the Q, or the square is area, volume is a 3 for cubic units. Okay. Please, please, please label your answers correctly when we do the assignment for this. Okay. All right. So let's start with a. Let's just say I've got a cube here. Okay. So we're going to say that this is just a simple cube. And remember, if it's a cube, that means all the sides are square, so they have the exact same measurement. Okay. So this is volume of a cube. Okay. So the first thing is we're going to write, let's give this some dimensions. Really, if it's a cube, because it's square, all the sides are the same. So I really only need one dimension. So let's just say this was 3 centimeters, and that's all I'm given. Well, that's plenty. That's all I need in order to find the volume of a cube. Why is that? Because they're all the same. Okay, if this side is 3 centimeters, then this side is 3 centimeters. All of the sides are 3 centimeters. Okay, so if I'm finding volume of a cube, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write this formula. Volume equals length times width times height. Well, again, if this is 3, 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 all of these are going to be 3 centimeters. Okay, so my length, and to be honest, guys, it doesn't really matter which one you make your length, your width, and your height. Think back to when we did the um, commutative property. Okay, 5 times 2 is the same as 2 times 5. It doesn't matter what order you multiply numbers in. Okay, so I can say that my length is 3, my width is 3, and my height is 3. And they're all 3 because this is a cube. Okay, so when I multiply these answers, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is, so this would be 27 centimeters cubed. Okay, pretty simple. Okay, you guys try one, a cube, and I want you to find the volume of this cube, but let's say that this only dimension you're given is, let's say this is 5 inches. Okay, pause the video and try that example, and I want to see if you get that one correct. Okay, so the first thing we should have done here was write the formula, length times width times height, and my length is 5, my width is 5, and my height is 5. Well, 5 times 5 is 25 times 5, so that would be 125 inches cubed. If you got this, you did that one correctly. If you just did this, is that correct? No. This person forgot the cube units, okay? Please make sure you label everything appropriately, okay? All right, now let's look at a rectangular prism. Okay, when we have a rectangular prism, the neat thing about this is it's the exact same formula as a cube, okay? So that means volume equals length times width times height. The only difference is in a rectangular prism, we're not going to have the same dimensions like we did in a cube, okay? In other words, all of the sides are not going to be the same, okay? So let's say I got this rectangular prism here, okay? Let's give this some dimensions. Let's say this was 7 centimeters. Let's say this is 2 centimeters, and let's say this is 3 centimeters. Okay, remember what I said is it doesn't matter which one you make your length, your width, and your height, because you're going to multiply them anyway, okay? And if this rectangular prism was turned up on its side, then your height might be, you might determine the height of something different, even though the numbers are going to be the same, okay? It doesn't really matter, but let's just say the length of this is 7. Okay, so we'll put a 7 here in place of the L. Let's say the width of this is 2. Okay, so we have a 2 here, and then we have a 3 here. Okay, so whatever order you want to do this in, it really doesn't matter. Okay, now I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint here. Okay, I can look at this and say 7 times 2 is 14 times 3. Okay, but remember, because of the commutative property, it doesn't matter what order we multiply these numbers in. So I could say, I can do 2 times 3 first, because to me it's easier to multiply 7 times 6 than it is to multiply 14 times 3. Totally up to you, okay? But if I do 7 times 2 times 3 is 6, well, I'm going to move this over here. That's pretty easy, isn't it? What's 7 times 6? 42, and this is centimeters cubed, okay? Now, I could have done 7 times 2 is 14, and 14 times 3, sometimes numbers like that, it's not as easy to do in my head. 4 times 3 is 12, carry my 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1. I still get the same answer, okay? 42 centimeters cubed. It doesn't matter what order you multiply them in, and it doesn't matter what method you use to multiply them, okay? That's how you're going to find volume of a rectangular prism. Okay, I'm going to give this some new dimensions. And I want you guys to try this one on your own. Okay. Let's say this was 10 inches. Let's say this is 4 inches. Let's say this is 5 inches. Okay. I want you to find the volume of this rectangular prism. Pause the video and do this example, please. Okay. So the first thing you should have done was write the formula. Volume equals length times width times height. Then I'm going to give this some dimensions. Well, let's say this is my length. And again, it doesn't matter which one you make your length, your width, your height. It does not matter. Okay. But let's just say the length is 10. And to prove that to you, let's say that I make the 5 the width. And let's say the height is 4. Okay. When I multiply these, 10 times 5 is 50 times 4. Okay. Well, I know that 50 times 4 is 200, but we can illustrate that if we're not totally sure over here. 0 times 4 is 0. 5 times 4 is 20. So that's 200. And this would be inches, what? Cubed. Please don't forget this thing. That's important. Okay. So my final answer should have been 200 inches cubed. All right. One more example, and then we're going to be done for today. Okay. This one is a triangular prism. Well, let's think back to when we found area of triangles. Okay. If you remember, it's the exact same formula as if I found the area of a rectangle or a parallelogram. But what did I do with it when I was finding area? That's right, I divided by 2. So a triangular prism is kind of going to be the same thing. Volume equals length times width times height. And if you look at that, that's the exact same thing, except we're going to divide this by 2. Okay, so we do the exact same thing, but we divide by 2. Okay, so let's say that I've got a triangle here. Let's say I got another one right here. And I'm going to connect these so that I've got a triangular prism. Okay, and this is actually going to have a height here, so I'm going to give this some dimensions here. Let's say this has a height. And again, height is determined by a right angle. Okay, looks very confusing, but this is actually not hard at all. Okay, let's say that this was 12 centimeters. Let's say this is 6 centimeters. Let's say this is 8 centimeters. Okay, again, I can't emphasize this enough. It doesn't matter which one dimension you make, but it's fine. If you want to do the length of this is 12, I'm going to move this over here so I got a little more room. Okay, volume equals length times width times height divided by 2. So let's say volume equals length is 12 times width is 6, and the height of this triangle is 8. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to multiply it all and I'm going to divide it by 2. Okay? Well, let's go ahead and do 12 times 6. What is 12 times 6? 12 times 6 is 72. Okay? So I'm going to multiply 72 times 8 and I'm going to divide it by 2. Well, let's take that 72 and multiply it times 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Carry my 1. 7 times 8 is 56 plus 1, which is what? 57. Okay, so 576 is what I have. But this I'm going to divide by 2. Okay, I'm going to move this right here. So 576 divided by 2. All right, so let's take this. 2 goes into 5 twice. So minus 4, 1, bring down my 7. 2 goes into 17 8 times. So minus 16, bring down my 1 and my 6. And 2 goes into 16 8 times. So the answer to this would be 288 centimeters what? Cubed. This is my final answer. A little more work to show here, okay? But hopefully you kind of understand how we found the volume of that triangular prism. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to give it some dimensions, and then you guys try it on your own. Okay, we'll go easier here. Let's say this was 6 inches. Let's say this is 2 inches, and let's say this is 3 inches. Okay, pause the video, and you guys try and find this volume on your own. Okay, first thing we should have done is write the formula. So length times width times height divided by 2. Length is 6 times the width is 2 times the height is 2 divided by 2. Well, 12 times 2 divided by 2. What's 12 times 2? 24 divided by 2. So the volume, I always forget my V's out here. Okay, my volume is going to be 24 divided by 2, which would be what? 12 inches. Don't forget that, cube. Okay? I'm hoping you got that example correct. Okay? All right. So tomorrow you'll have your worksheet over these lessons. Okay? If you need to go back and watch this a time or two, that's totally fine. Um, and I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon. God bless you guys.